right, the new Sascoc leadership is now in place after last week's AGM and subsequent elections. Barry Hendricks has now been installed in the position of president on a full-time basis. He's been acting since the departure of Gideon Sam last year. Just to be upfront with the viewers, we did invite Mr. Hendricks to this discussion, but he declined. The question is, will Sascoc turn the corner with leaders putting their differences aside for the good of South African sports? I'm Arthur Bwanakawa, and this is Inside Sport. All right, it's a beautiful afternoon in South Africa, very sunny as well. I have the pleasure of welcoming in studio Tennis SA board member Ms. Ntambi Ravele, whose efforts to stand for the top Sascoc job were derailed. However, I must mention that we had extended our invitation not only to Ms. Ravele, but to Sascoc President Barry Hendricks, Netball SA President Cecilia Molekwane, and a number of Sascoc board members. And Mr. Hendricks declined, of course, while we're still hopeful that Ms. Molekwane will be part of this discussion. Ms. Ntambi, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Good afternoon, and how are you?
Doing very well. You're in the hot seat again.
I am in the hot seat now.
Yeah. And I mean, let's start off our discussion with this very direct question. Why is Barry Hendricks not the man for the job at Sascoc?
I don't think he is the right person, and I have reasons why, because of he had proved himself to be unethical. And I'm saying that because of he had an opportunity with Tennis South Africa president when he was asking him, actually he was telling him that we are going to stand for elections. And he said to him, I'm not the right person to stand for elections.
Why would he say that, ma'am?
I don't know, because of the reasons he gave. He said, I'm not known in Sascoc. I'm the most vocal member of Sascoc. There's no meeting that I will leave the meeting without saying something. He said I'm not known. And the other issue, he said I've never served in any committees. I was serving in many committees, in commissions within Sascoc. So I think he did that because of he wanted to discourage the president of tennis for supporting my nomination. And it was an issue of eliminating those, because my credentials are far much more higher than his credentials. He never led even any federation. I led 3 federations.
Wow, I mean, where there's smoke, there is fire, and already the house is divided. So what are the immediate actions then that need to take place in order for all this mess to kind of quiet down?
What happened with my case is that Sascoc appointed Advocate Baloyi. He found that both the president of tennis and Sascoc acting president were unethical because of why the president of tennis, he lied also to the board members saying Barry doesn't support my nomination, whilst Barry lied also to say I'm not known and all these things that he said. So thereafter we then have to do arbitration. We went for arbitration, and out of that arbitration he won, or actually let me say he was cleared on the issue of conspiracy. Okay. But he was not cleared on an issue of a lack of ethics. So that issue he still have to answer because of he lied, and he lied. He should tell us why he lied.
Wow, that's unbelievable. I mean, the new board will have to also deal with unresolved problems from the previous terms that had accumulated over, the last few years. And it just seems that already Barry Hendricks being a part of the Sascoc leadership, there's just something already going wrong. What would you like to add in terms of those thoughts?
I think it's actually going to be very interesting to watch what Sascoc is going to do. Firstly, they have a president who still have a case to answer. I don't know how are they going to handle that because of they are supposed to appoint an independent judiciary or whatever to resolve that issue. So how do you then give us the same person you have to take to DC powers to sit in a position? Yes. And that's the first thing. And the other issues, there's already controversies on some of the people who had been elected. Ilam is one of them because of USA is challenging her elections. So there are already problems within the board, whilst they are supposed to be actually focusing on dealing with a lot of problems that Sascoc has.
Does Barry Hendricks have the capacity to do this?
I don't think so. I don't think so because of the fact that he had never been a president of a federation. So we haven't seen him acting as in that position. You can't escalate a person from being a provincial president of a confederation, not a federation, a confederation, to a position of a president of an organization that it's multi-coded and actually also it's Olympic, it's Commonwealth, it's a lot of, it's World Games, it's a lot of other events. So if he will surprise us, let's wait for the surprise.
I mean, Ms. Ntambi, the main business of Sascoc is to promote and develop high-performance sports. So based on what you just said, he's not fit to run the office.
He's not fit to run the office, and again, except for him, the same organization have a challenge because of they have lost one of a very good high-performance official. Zera resigned, I think it was last year, and she left to Anoka. So she was actually one of the person who was doing a very good job in high performance. And already now they don't have a person of that caliber at that level.
What does it take to be president of Sascoc, and what exactly needs to be done in order for the sports governing bodies of the nation to follow pursuit?
I think we need to review how Sascoc elections are run, because there should be some certain criteria that you should qualify for you to be able to be a board member, for you to be able to stand for vice president, for you to stand for president. There should be some criteria. Without criteria, it's an issue of people being elected because of they can convince more people to support them, or else there are deals. We know elections always have deals, and there are deals that people are promising each other. And those deals are not the things that produce results. Results are produced by good leadership, leadership that is there because of it qualifies to be there.
But the IOC entrusted Sam Ramsamy to make sure that the elections are fair. I mean, by your reaction, I'm already expecting something that's not going to be with positive expressions.
You know the problem of Sascoc? It's the problem of since Sascoc was formed. And Sam Ramsamy was in leadership since it was formed. And since Sascoc was formed, they selected people that they want. How do you then put actually the same person who have an interest in Sascoc to actually facilitate elections when there are problems within those elections? I didn't expect any good thing coming out of those elections. And even now, to have a board like this, I mean, that board, it's Barry being questioned, it's Ilam being questioned, Tondisa is being questioned because of they are saying he's having a case with Sascoc. You have two board members, actually two vice presidents, who resigned in the previous board.
Wow.
And now they are coming back as vice president. How do we know that they will finish the term now? Wow. Because if they resigned in the previous board and not tell us the reason why, or it was because of it was too hot, what if it's now getting to be too hot? So they will resign again. So we might actually be standing with an organization that would not have two vice presidents. So to me, I'm seeing this board having 3 people only who doesn't have any controversy. And that is Muki, that is Alan, and I think it's, I forgot her name, she's a new member. Those are the 3 that don't have anything. But do you expect that board to actually deal with challenges that we are having in sport in South Africa?
I mean, ma'am, my colleague, field reporter and sports journalist Claudia Mtimkulu was at the elections, and she stated that the atmosphere was very balanced. There was no tension in the air. And of course, there were just a few members that opposed Barry Hendricks. So I'm just thinking, why are the rest of the sports governing bodies not vocal as yourself and the likes of Cecilia Molokwane?
Oh, by the way, I forgot to correct you because I'm no longer a board member of tennis. I resigned, and I resigned because of issues of ethics. I can't stand to be serving in an organization that doesn't respect their own values, and that's why I resigned. But coming back to Sascoc, the reason why I'm raising the issue of federations, this federation don't want to transform. The report of EPG report is not a true reflection of transformation in sport. And I was actually even saying this to say the department is not even monitoring whether the reports they are giving them, it's actually the true reflection of what is happening in those federations. So obviously, they will actually, federations that doesn't want to transform, they would want leadership that they will negotiate with. And I think we should actually kiss bye-bye to transformation moving forward.
Wow, that's a bold statement, man. How do we say bye-bye to transformation when we need that in sports in this country?
I won't see it happen, and I'll tell you why. If you check in that board, the representation, it's not even representing demographics of South Africa. So why do you expect transformation to happen when even the board didn't actually indicate that South Africa demographics are moving are in this manner? I don't expect anything, and if they do that, they would have surprised me.
As a woman in sports, there were 5 women that were, of course, elected to the Sascoc member board. Isn't that a win for the organization?
From a person who doesn't know the politics, yes, it's good. For people who know politics, they will question a lot. Why am I sitting here being not part of the board?
Wow. Wow. Well, we all asking questions, right? We all asking questions. That's quite interesting, ma'am. And especially when we think about the running of the organization and the finances that play a very important role, because you've spoken about the lack of transparent leadership, mismanagement, of course, of finances and misconduct. But what I also find quite interesting is that the National Lottery has cut its funding by 100 million rand a year since 2017. And I'm a massive sports fan. The Olympic Games is coming up in exactly 52 days, and it just feels like the rest of the sport governing bodies and structures in the nation are left in limbo state. Cricket, South Africa, one example, rugby, football, just to name a few. So how can we move forward? There's still no clear way in how this change is going to happen.
I wish Sascoc Congress had taken sport seriously, and I'm saying this because of it's not a matter of who is popular. We are sitting in a situation where we have COVID-19, so most of companies won't be actually sponsoring sport, but also Sascoc itself didn't have sponsors coming to this COVID-19.
Yes.
So moving forward, I would have, if I was Sascoc Council, I would have looked at people with marketing skills, with people with business acumen, you know, people who could actually, even if we don't get sponsors, they would come with ways of making money and make sure that the sport actually have. So I'm worried that we are going to Olympics next year, and the lottery. From now onwards, I think they are going to only give them 5 million unless if they increase it or even the minister possibly negotiate with lottery. And if they don't get that money, because of they rely on government funding, lottery, and IOC. Yes. So if they don't get any other funding from somewhere, we might not actually send the team that we want to send to the Olympics.
Oh, tell you what, guys, very shocking revelations here as I'm seated for Inside Sports with Ntambi Ravele, just explaining the state of Sascoc from her days and what she had encountered over her stay over there. And Barry Hendricks, of course, being the man at the center of it all. You're watching Inside Sports on eNCA. We will continue shortly with so much more on this conversation. This discussion is heated up. I can't wait to hear what Ntambi has to say from here onwards. All right, we'll be right back right here on eNCA.